The explorers pressed on, and leaving the lofty perch, swung back through the tree and onto the front side of the building. The walls were riddled with small holes, and brick crumbled underfoot. One at a time, each of the group sidestepped slowly into the front corner of the structure and eased their way around to the front wall. It was a breathtaking exercise, if not exceedingly dangerous. Hearing the busted brick back cascading down to the weeds and underbrush 4 stories below elevated everyone's heartbeat substantially, even the dauntless Dewey, who showed no fear. Crossing to the front tower shaft, which stood sentinel for the ruin, they proceeded first into the tight, massy 4 walls, and then downward on the mossy, crumbling remains of a staircase. The incessant roar and wash of the creek addled as they sank deeper into the shaft. The sudden silence and careful deliberations unconsciously lowered their enthusiasm and speaking. When they completed their descent to the front door steps, their voices had lowered to a whisper as they stood amidst the brush and debris that had grown up inside the old brick artifact. Lots of folks used to get married here, too. It was really the only large meeting place around, Dewey offered. It's so quiet here within the tower, like a church, Brady noted. I can just picture beautiful girls slowly descending the stairwell here, Dewey added. More ghost stories? Brady asked. Maybe, quipped Jennifer as she arrived at the front entrance and stepped outside. Out in the elements again, they were met with a pungent aroma of sun-baked pine trees and the earthy decaying odor of fallen leaves and twigs that were strewn across the forest floor. Creek sounds dashed against their ears again, and the excited cries of field birds circling above the treetops filtered downward. Mid-morning had passed, and the day was beginning to inflame. Spying the cobblestone Slough Creek, and realizing that it was the only part of the ruin the ensemble had not encroached, they ambled toward the dusty stones. From the front doorstep, the slope presented a formidable challenge, but the fallen brick and debris of the wall collapse provided easy enough access. Dewey, being the brave lad that he was, chose to crawl up the steep redoubt, clutching to the few large stones that provided some semblance of a toehold on the face of the wall. Up they clambered, Jenny first, followed by Liz and Rady. Having chosen a more difficult ascent, Dewey reached the summit just behind the girls. The peak of the parapet was about 5 feet thick and led evenly forward to the wheel entrance. The group peered inside the wheel room, again imagining the great commotion that must have occupied there at one point. Liz, suddenly emboldened, decided to show off for the group by tight-wire walking out a small brick wall to the side wall. "Lizzy, come back here," Rady demanded, obviously excited and disturbed by her sister's boldness. Jenny laughed with Dewey at the youngster's daring. The toddler reached the far side easy enough, but falling forward suddenly to ensure her footing, she found herself gazing much too close to the sinister stare of a long, cold, apparently disturbed reptile. A sudden quivering motion began, which excited a few others of the species to be found close at hand, obviously sunning on the warm brick ledge. Lizzie's eyes sprung open to saucer width, and without pausing to ask questions, the young child pirouetted and leaped back across the parapet in 3 quick jumps. A loud, fitful scream was also heard to reverberate throughout the forest. She bolted past her 3 companions and, hiding behind Jenny's overalls, peered around to see if she had been followed. "Snakes," she quivered. "Where?" asked Jenny and Dewey, peering over to the ledge. Liz just raised a pointed finger and stood looking the other way while, covering her eyes, sobbed, "There." "There? Mean ugly suckers," Dewey commented, gazing over to the reptiles, now sliding away in equal terror. "Oh, here they come, Liz! Run! Run!" he hollered suddenly. All the girls screamed, Jenny only understanding Dewey's hateful ploy, adding to the excitement. As they ran to the edge of the climb down, they found the descent was blocked by an equally formidable foe. A large, fierce-looking, bearded goat with well-developed horns stood ominously on the front steps of the factory. Jenny announced, "He must have strayed from a nearby farm." Not one to be afraid of farm animals, she tested his intentions. She attempted a descent, and, groping for a toe-hold, was quick to incense Mr. William Goat to prance around haughtily and make a playful, if noisy, bolt at the wall directly beneath her. "You can't make it," Jenny cried Rady. "He won't let you down." Apparently Rady was correct, for it certainly appeared that the young nanny had taken great offense at their presence. Jenny drew up her dangling leg and scrambled to the top of the stones again. The situation, while grave, had a comical tone to it. The three elder explorers glanced at each other, seeking a consensus on a course of action. Liz, in a nervous state, anxiously peered over her shoulder for the imminent arrival of a horde of reptilian attackers. Dewey assured her that the snakes had taken an equally swift departure in the opposite direction, which calmed the child enough to focus downward on the formidable four-footed obstacle. He blocked the only way of descent, and the climb down had to be executed backwards. The reception below was sure to be walloping. "Stones," suggested Denny suddenly. But the cobblestones making up the creek bed were somewhat large and difficult to manage. It took both Jenny and Dewey to pry one loose and hurl it downward. Their action only served to provoke their captor, who bellowed his objections to the children's intrusion. Dewey, down on his knees, leaned over the edge whistling. His piercing blue eyes winced in angry intimidation. He growled as the wind tossed his sun-bleached curls. "Bah!" he taunted. "If I had a gun, I'd blast him," decided Jenny, only half sincere, not being the type to wantonly harm any living creature. "Look, you girls act like you're coming down the other side of the levee there. Get his attention, and distract him long enough for me to slip down the rubble here. If I get enough of a head start, I'll get away and he'll chase me. Then you all can climb down unobserved," Dewey decided, alert and excited. "We'll outflank him and make a masterful retreat." Dewey prostrated himself on the bank top, and the girls noisily marched to the end of the levee and proceeded with great fanfare to incite the goat to action. It was only when Jenny pretended to be lowering herself down the brick ledge that the goat became interested enough to prance around excitedly, leaving his flank exposed and an avenue of escape unguarded. Dewey seized the opportunity and made a quiet but rapid descent, while the girls hurled insulting epithets at their oppressor. "Bah, bah yourself, you ugly old fool," Jenny yelled, as Liz and Rady pelted the animal from above. Then Dewey, safe on the ground, began prancing about and irritating the daring gestures of a Spanish matador. The goat, caught off guard, was infuriated, and catching sight of the taunting boy, charged. Dewey hollered instructions to the girls. "Get down, quick! Run and hide!" as he turned to flee.